What is up? We ended the week right here. We ended the week up $27,000. I'm just kidding. This is on the practice account. I went absolutely crazy on the practice today, just messing around. But 21K, shoot. You know, but we were really just messing around in the practice. I was like scalping with 15 contracts, just trying to catch like 5-10 point moves. But I'm surprised I was able to just rack it up like that because I would have expected just to lose everything. So on the actual account, we locked ourselves out, obviously, and we ended up about $19 today with break-even trade. I'll go over it and I'll show the video of the execution at the end. But the total P&L on this account is now at $300, which is nothing to write home about, obviously, but just a slow week, right? We went over how yesterday we missed out on the trade. If you watched the video yesterday, I missed out on I thought I was taking a trade on this account where it was actually on my paper account. So how am I trying to say? We should be up around $800 on this account, but we're not. So it is what it is, and there's nothing we can really do about it. So that is frustrating. But we took a break-even trade, and yeah. So we'll go over what I was looking at today. Going into the day, on the higher time frames, we are just selling again, right? We just had this nice little model here that was completed kind of overnight, which is annoying. It's taking out this low here, and then taking out the low, manipulating again, and then pumping up higher. That happening overnight is kind of annoying. And then yesterday we had that nice sell that again I took but didn't take on the eval on accident, and we sell off this morning, and we put in these relative equal highs here. We have other relative equal highs, but we have the non-farm payrolls, the NFP, and it sold us 200 something points on NFP. So NFP came in, and it sold on the NFP candle 1 minute was 162 points, and then total we sold about 200 something points. So obviously, if you've seen any of my videos or Dodgy's videos, data highs is just an easy target if you just don't have a bias, because there's no real bias here of long or short, because there's not much structure. But I knew that this high would be somewhere we look to go to. So that's kind of where I was at in the morning. Again, there was not really too much on the higher time frames. On the 1 hour later, this becomes important where we sweep this low here, and we're in a big fair value gap here that we swept. Just keep that in mind. But let's see. So that's just kind of for context for later, because we come down and sweep that in a second. But yeah, going back to the news, off market open here. Off market open. I didn't have any crazy bias, but we come down, we put in this singular fair value gap. And again, this ends up inversing. And the only reason I did not take this trade, which is very frustrating, the only reason I did not take it was just because the stop loss was pretty heavy. It was around 62 points to be safe, right? Obviously, we don't ever even go negative, right? I could have gone in with 4 contracts and been fine, because this trade only ever goes 6 points against us. So we could have really ate today on this trade. But yeah, about 40. I could have taken it for sure with 5 micros, 4 micros. And if I wanted to risk all of this, I'd have to take it with 3. But the stop loss just kind of scared me, kind of tripped me out. So I just took it on paper, which obviously now I'm looking back and regret it, because this could have been a massive day. So really this week was just 2 massive days that we did not capitalize on, which seems to be a theme, and it's starting to get pretty frustrating, because I want to just improve and get results, right? I feel like I'm at a point where I want results so badly, because I feel like I deserve them, which is, you should never feel like you deserve anything. You have to work for it. But I do feel like I've put in the time and have the knowledge to actually gain reap the benefits of what I've been doing, and it just seems like right now I'm just been getting just maybe life's telling me to slow down and wait because just there's two mistakes, right? If I were to have taken this trade today, I'd probably put me around 4 something, 500 something on the day. Yesterday's 4 or 500. That's about 1,000. That's now the account's up $1,300. We have $1,000 something dollar week. Like it just changes. It changes a lot for us, and the reality of not doing that is now that we just don't have those gains. So it kind of is frustrating. But the way I would have scaled this, or the way that I scaled on paper, and on the micros, we hit full take profit, so I wouldn't have to worry. This was also a very quick 1, 2, 3, 4 minute trade. So on the micros, which I would have traded, we did actually come up and take that high. On the regular chart, we have equal highs. So we inverse. I would have jumped in here. I would have scaled my first contract off here for 51 points and gone to break even. Then I would have taken my next contract off at the top of this fair value gap, or maybe the top of this data wick, just for another 75 to 80 points. And then I would left the runner to the data high, which is 140 points. So even on 3 micros, we would have banked today. On 4 micros, we would have banked. And if we snuck in a bigger size with 5 micros, we would have really gone crazy. So I should have just, with this momentum, I mean, it really just was the stop loss. I was really just paranoid about a massive stop loss. I was not really trying to risk 60 points. I really just, but I've seen this setup play out so many times that I should have just known that. I mean, obviously, don't over risk, right? I'm not. If it does lose, I can't lose everything, but I should have taken it with, even if I took it with 2 contracts, right? Like just something, because that was just a golden opportunity to take a trade there. And let's see if okay, I don't have ES, but I was wondering if we had a SMT at the time there. It doesn't really matter. But this was the trade of the day that I did not take again, but I took it on paper, and looking back, it was because the stop loss scared me. But the risk to reward was still in my favor, to the point where I could still take the trade even if I had to risk 60 points, because the target is well beyond 60. So if I'm risking accordingly and I take the same size and I'm risking 400, then I still will make enough to validate the trade. So I should haven't been worried about the point size, and should have just traded what I saw on the chart, and I didn't. So that's a mistake I have to learn from. I have to learn to just if the setup's there, the setup's there. That's why I changed my risk structure. That's why I don't just do the same amount of contracts every trade, is because in circumstances like this, where I have to risk 60 points, I can't take 5 contracts, 6 contracts. I have to dial it back, and that's something that I was trying to do. So we end up taking that out and selling off kind of aggressively through here. And at this point, I was kind of anticipating a bottom. Remember the 1 hour I showed you inside the fair value gap? That was a good sell side. I was looking for this to start becoming an area that we might end up looking for some reversals. So long story short, we do get some signs of reversal here. That formed kind of my bias going the rest of the day, which was to come back to these equal highs. So what happens, we came down, we swept the low from the higher time frame, but that's obviously not enough. We end up making an SMT here. We had a few SMTs, but I'll just mark one. We had an SMT between this low too, and between this low and this low, we had 2. So we had one here that I'll just mark out here as one of the confluences. And also, we actually had a pretty clean breaker block that pretty well held. So the breaker block is a bullish breaker is a lower low and higher high. So as you can see, we have a low here, we have a high, we have a lower low. So you take out this low, swept sell side at the same time. We have a higher high, all in the same candle. So this then became the breaker block right here. So this became the breaker, and if you extend that out, we actually respected it pretty dang well. Obviously, we came back underneath it here, but I do believe, let's see, we do hold it really well. As you can see, again, nothing insane, but this was another confluence for this being like a bottom. We did come up, sweep this high, sell off again. We were rejecting a 15-minute imbalance. So the last thing I was looking for was this 15 minute to then get ran through to the upside to validate that we actually are getting a reversal. So this 15 minute fair value gap here does end up getting ran through, 15 minute bearish. So this thing gets ran through here on this candle. As you can see, we were respecting it. So then that gave me bias towards going long. So I then was like, okay, now I can validate longs. What I looked at this right here. We had a fair value gap. I'm not sure. Okay, there we go. It's not a 4 hour. I'll fix that. We had a 15 minute. Why can't I type? Settings. Text. 15 minute. We had a 15 minute fair value gap here, which ends up being where I wanted to see price come into. So because we had this 15 minute here and we had inversed this, I wanted to see us come down to the 15 minute to get a nice little retracement to go target longs. So what do we get? We have price put in the 15 minute here. And then we don't come down and tap it. We come back up. We fail to take out the high. And then we sell back off through and hold the 15 minute imbalance. And at this point, this is where I started to look in for entries. So we had a 3 minute fair value gap here. That was pretty much my entry once we broke above. And then extra confluence was this 2 minute gap we had above here that we ended up closing. So my first entry was when we got this displacement up and we closed above the 3 minute. I got in long off that break right there. My first take profit, I got in with 6 contracts. I was going to take 4 off for about 39 points, which is very good, and then leave runners to the equal highs. Stop was somewhere here, and I was risking around 40 points. So the way I end up managing this trade is I'll actually pull up the executions because it's easier to explain. But yeah, so my bias for reversal just wasn't playing out. And before I pull up the video, I kind of just summarize, I guess, the last little bit of these charts here. So yeah, I was anticipating us to continue higher here. There's clear that we're just rejecting and struggling to go higher. So the original model I was trading just ends up failing, right? This ends up holding, this inverse holds to then take out this high right here. But again, that's all it did, is just resweep this high. So it kind of shows that maybe we're not ready for a buy model. And it is a Friday after we've been selling all week, so I'm not expecting a whole lot more from price. But that's just kind of how I was looking at the market today and what I was doing in the trade I took. So now I'll pull up the execution. And again, we're up 300 on the account. Hopefully we can have a killing week next week and not miss out on a lot of the gains. So, but yeah, it was a good week. Excited for the weekend to start and just maybe get off the charts for a little bit, clear my head a little bit, and come back better. All right, so here is the execution. I'm not sure why this thing is like this, but here's the execution. So hold up, we'll restart. And what the heck is that? Break even. All right, here we go. We gotta mute it. There we go. So as you can see, we get into the trade. Let me full screen this. So we get into the trade, and we put our take profit in. I don't know why this thing's not moving. All right. So we put our take profit in. So we're in the trade off the 3 minute break. We got in a little bit higher actually, and we left our runner. And I was really hoping we'd just run straight through and take out my first target. So we were up about $200. I didn't just go to break even right away, which is nice. And I do, I used to just take out profit when I'd see $200 because I couldn't believe my eyes that my trade was actually up. But now I'm a lot more patient, a lot more calm. I know that I'm gonna get rewarded in the long run for actually holding my trades and not just scalping $200. Because what happens if I lose a trade and I'll lose 400, and the winner trades I only make 200 when I'm supposed to make a lot more. So at this point, I was liking how the trade was looking. This was a normal little pullback, but I did want to see it kind of just keep running because it was a pretty bullish reaction, and ES at the time had already taken out this high right here. So at that time, I was a little bit kind of just antsy, hoping that it would just run because I wasn't really trying to see too much hesitation. So at this point, I'm still just sitting here in the trade. My stop loss in place, again, risking 500. So I had to risk a little bit more because we had a big distance that would invalidate my trade, and I don't want to get out before I'm invalidated. So I was willing to risk a little bit more to then, cover myself just in case it came back down to, as you can see, this 3-minute gap. There's a 3-minute gap. These red lines are the 3-minute gap, and I was willing to let it come down there to maybe retest because I just didn't want to get out of the trade early. So we were stalling. Again, I wasn't too worried here. This candle was pretty important to me, and it had about 50 seconds left on the close, so I'm going to speed through here. So this 2-minute close actually, and we're on like the 15-second. I really like this 2-minute close, so I'll just pause it here. This 2-minute close was actually very nice because, as you can see, we came in, we retested the inverse, and we closed pretty strong. So I was like, okay, cool. This is actually looking pretty good. I was still confident in the move. We were up, again, $105. I'm surprised that because I was in drawdown, I didn't just take the 105. So I'm definitely improving somewhere along the way. I'm improving, so I'm happy with that. But, yeah, so then the trade goes back against me, and then we're still in drawdown here. And at this point, I'm not really sure how I feel. We're still holding the gap. There's really no reason for me to get out because there's no real reason for the trade to not work. So realistically, realistically, there's nothing too bad here. It's just stalling. So I was trying to tell myself that is that, okay, there's nothing invalidating me. Maybe we come down and just sweep this low here. I was expecting this. Watch, you see my cursor that I was using live, saying I was going to sweep that low and then reverse. So we got kind of a reaction. So I was like, okay, maybe that's actually going to happen. And then, so this candle came in. I was like, okay, maybe we just sweep that low, and then we're going to get a good reaction. And at this point, I was starting to say, eventually I circle this high, and I say, if it goes there, I'll probably go break even. Just because of the hesitation. I really wasn't a fan of how much we were hesitating. Let me zoom back out. I wasn't a fan at all of how much we were hesitating. So I was like, okay, if we go above that high, there would be no reason for it to slow down other than to just come down and stop me out. So if we go above that high, I'd want to see acceleration through it, hit my first take profit, and be break even. So that's kind of where I made my mind up. This was a nice reaction. I really did like this reaction we got here. And I wanted to see a just quick follow through. And then it stalls back down. It was just kind of playing with me. And then here we go. So we're up good here. This is a nice close. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't move my stop yet. Then I think I move it to this low. And then we put in equal highs there. So now at this point, again, we're up around $200 and something. So that would be a spot where normally after the drawdown, I would just take in my money, which again would have helped me today. 280, 290, $300 there. Would have been very, very, very nice to have claimed some of that profit, but we didn't. So we moved our stop to break even because it swept that high, and that was a pretty bearish reaction after taking that high. So it really shouldn't have rejected lower, in my opinion. So I'm glad moving to break even. As you can see, I took my break even away, which isn't the smartest thing to do. So I should have just stuck to it the whole way, and then I move it back up to break even because I didn't like that this fair value gap wasn't going to hold the 15-second. And overall, 5, 9, 6, I'm trying to see something. 34 points times 8. I would have locked in $272 if we hit first take profit, which would have been a solid day, and it would have put the count up nice. It would have put the count up around $600. So we get stopped at break even there. That's how we made the $19. And I'm pretty satisfied with how I managed the trade. I don't think that I moved my stop too early to break even because I sat through the drawdown, and that high we really should have accelerated through if I was in a good position, and we just didn't. So we did end up taking that high, We ended up coming down lower. I'm not sure if we would have got stopped out or not. I'm not really too concerned. But I managed the trade how I was comfortable managing it, and I managed it without too much emotions. And overall, I'm happy with the trade. I think it's still a good trade. It just was kind of choppy. Maybe the time of day. I did take this around middle of 12:30, around 12:30. That's lunch hour. So then here I locked myself out because I was upset. Maybe going to try and force another trade. So I was like, okay, let me stick to my one trade and lock myself out of the trade. So yeah, I mean, that was overall a good trade. I think I did well with how I managed it. I'm happy with how that went down. And yeah, happy with the entry, happy with how I managed the position. And it's just unlucky that we didn't hit the take profit, right? Because it came back down, held the red area here, would have never technically stopped me out, and then it did give another setup and then ran the high. So we could have done well today, but again, it is what it is. I think 12:30, I don't need to really be trading, but it was a good setup. I was reading the market well. I was happy with how I was interpreting the market. I was happy with the patience because I waited for the 15-minute to get tapped to, right? I was looking at maybe forcing something here, but I was like, okay, I know the market's going to come back down. We put in this high here. We're probably going to come back up. So I was happy with how I was reading the market, happy with my patience, happy with my executions, happy with doing one trade. Overall, very happy with today and this week. We had a great week, really. We just didn't capitalize as much as we could have numbers-wise, but in terms of decisions and discipline, I'm pretty happy with this week. So one thing I do have to say is that I was a little bit frustrated after missing out on the trade earlier, so I do need to note that and realize that I was a little bit emotional after missing the trade and taking it on paper and then seeing it work so well. But that shouldn't affect me. It should give me more confidence that I'm seeing the market well. So yeah, that's kind of all I have. That's kind of what my summary of today for myself and what I was thinking and the trades I took. And yeah, hopefully we come back and we have a great week next week. I really hope we do. I'm hoping to start really getting some momentum going. I'm really feeling good with my trading right now. And I think that if I just keep going, I'm on a good path right now. So I appreciate anyone that's made it this far in the video that keeps watching. This channel is growing. It's really cool to see. If you guys made it this far in the video, comment something you're going to do this weekend that outside trading. So I appreciate everyone that watches the videos, and I hope you guys had a great week. I'll see you guys on Monday. Peace.